Hey guys, this is Tom from Advantagecoaching, and today I'm going to be showing you an overview of an upcoming video series I will be making. These videos are going to be repertoire videos. This means I'm not giving general overviews of each opening and line, which I don't believe actually helps anyone, since it doesn't teach you the deeper values and plans of the opening. I'm going to show you the lines of this exciting new repertoire I created very recently as white, and I'm going to explain to you when and how to play these lines. So, why should you play this repertoire? Well, I was originally looking for a way to avoid the Indian defenses in the Queen's Gambit. I felt the King's Indian and the Banco Gambit were too easy to play for an experienced black player, and the Benoni among those others had too much theory to learn, so it was really difficult to get an advantage, especially over the board with much more pressure. So I went in search of a way to avoid these. Through my research, I found the best way to do this was to create a hybrid system that lies somewhere between 1d4 and 1e4. And this is using a series of transpositions to avoid all the annoying openings that black will be better prepared for than us, and really keep the ball in black's court. So the opening we'll be examining after 1d4 in response to d5, which is obviously a very common response. We're going to be happy to just play c4. This is the Queen's Gambit. And in the videos on the Queen's Gambit, I'm going to be showing you the lines in the accepted. I'm going to be showing you the lines of the declined, in which we'll look at the Catalan opening, which is a very solid, strong option as white, which black will not be as familiar with as we will be. I'll also cover Slav and semi-Slav lines and some minor lines such as the album counter gambit and the Tarash defense. If black responds to our d4 with knight f6, my original idea was to avoid the Indian defenses by playing bishop g5. And this is the Trompowsky attack. For those who don't know about this, I chose it because it gives rise to lines that are really the opposite of what a King's Indian or Nimzo player are comfortable with. Also, it is white rather than black who often gets to attack and has the initiative, which will throw many Indian players off, such as King Indian players who just like to attack the King's side. Really doesn't give them the option of that. And I will mainly focus, for the people that know about the Trompowsky, I will mainly focus on the solid lines such as knight d2 in the main line, but I'll also provide alternatives that can be researched by the more run and gun players. So quickly, the main lines I will show you are c5, d5, knight e4, g6, and e6. One line which will be mentioned in the Trompowsky videos is 2e6, as I showed right here. And the main line to this, I should point out, is e4, and I will show this in the Trompowsky video, but I will also do an independent video looking at knight f3, which is transposing to the Torre attack, while, like I said, the Trompowsky video gives you the main line of e3. I personally usually play 3e4, but the Torre is an option I've looked at and I believe is a good one from this position, and this is because black has shut in his light square bishop, and many d4 players, especially if you've played one of the deviations such as the London or some sort of opening like that, will know that structures are more favorable if black is already locked in his light square bishop. So what else are we going to look at? Well, with d5 and knight f6, which are probably the more common options covered, You might say, well, what if they play g6? What are we gonna do here? Bishop g5 won't work. And because we can't play c4, they'll just go into their Benoni or King's Indian. And what I decided to play here was e4. And the idea is to transpose to the 150 attack, which is a general setup, something like this. And transposing to the perk defense. And many d4 players might hesitate to transpose to an e4 opening, and I was at first as well until I really looked into it. The 150 attack uses a setup which is very easy to use, and I will show you. And apart from that, white almost always has the option to attack on the king side, which will throw off King's Indian players. They will absolutely hate it. Many other Indian players who are just not used to just getting attacked on the king side quite brutally as well. And we can also use this against 1d6 as well. And you should notice that through transposing to these openings, not only do we avoid their Indian defenses, but when we transpose to e4, such as this, an e4 opening of the perk defense, we've already avoided the Sicilian, the Caro-Kann, and the open game by doing so, which are three of black's best options against e4. So we've avoided some of black's best options against both d4 and e4 by using these transpositions. And the only time that black will only be really inside their repertoire and ready for it is when they play 1d5, and the Queen's Gambit is really the core of our repertoire, so we're more than happy with that. Something which I ran into a bit of trouble with was 1e6. So what do we do here? If we play e4, black may choose to go into the French defense, which is really what e6 is. It's just a waiting move, and it's really a desperate cry for white to go into black's favorite French defense to play against e4. If we go into c4, we risk transposing into a Benoni defense, and that's obviously what we're trying to avoid. No point playing that. We don't get to use the Trompowsky, that doesn't work. And I found trying to go with the Torre attack, playing knight f3 and waiting generally doesn't work too great either, since it doesn't have a large effect with the knight not on f6. So also I should just point out, many people think stuff like the Torre attack is good against any setup. It's just not. I'm only going to be advocating it against 2e6 against the Trompowsky, which is where it's good. So what to do here? Well, the jury's really still out on what I'm going to do here, but I've started playing e4, and while this seems like a bit of a moral concession allowing black to go into their favorite defense, I feel that after this, if we go back to the main line in the Trompowsky, which follows this, if they play e6, e4, the main line here is to play h6, forcing the trade of the bishop pair. Sorry, that was a bit of a misfire, but forcing the trade of the bishop pair for the center. But I found many players just go ahead with d5, and this is our problem. By playing e4, we're also limited to lines where we want the bishop on g5, so we minimize the work in theory we do, because the positions in here will be similar to the ones that are arising just after this. And I've started playing the French exchange, and once again, many attacking players or more aggressive players will not be too happy with this, as it's very drawish and simple. But I feel that the bishop often comes to g5, so that's good. And I also found that French players just really hate playing against a French exchange, and I feel this will put them at a disadvantage psychologically. And also it means we can go into the French defense where their theory, if they're a booked up French player, won't help them. And, French players would just be grumbling to themselves all game about how they wanted a winner were French or something, so that that'll kind of be to our advantage psychologically. So just to recap, after 1d4 against d5 we have Queen's Gambit. Against g6 and d6 we have the 150 attack. Against the Indian defense we have the Trompowsky right here. We also have the option, if you want, of transposing into the Torre attack. Should note in the Queen's Gambit I'm also going to show you the Catalan opening. And all of this just cuts down your theory. You don't have to memorize a heap of lines. You always have the advantage of knowing your lines better than black, or in most cases at least. And it's real easy to play. Also, stuff like the Trompowsky I should know, which is really kind of the turning point, the cog of the repertoire, which allows many of these transpositions. Many d4 players will just think, Queen's Gambit is the only way to get an advantage, and this is mostly true. But the thing about the Trompowsky is, out of all the d4 deviations, it's actually the strongest of them, and lots of the time you can come out with a large initiative. So, anyway, I'm hoping you look forward to this repertoire and maybe use it in some of your games, enjoy it as much as I do. Also, subscribe so when the videos come out it will come up on your feed and you'll see it instantly. And also visit our page on Facebook if you can, or if you want to, facebook.com/Advantagecoaching. We always like to see new people there, and the more people there, the more videos we will make. There's lots of videos on there, lots of blogs people have done. I feel it's a really good resource, and it would really motivate me to make more videos after this series. So thanks for watching. Any comments would be appreciated. Any thoughts on the repertoire, maybe refinements, ideas, whatever you want. So I'll see you in the next installment, which will probably focus on the Trompowsky defense.